So a couple of weeks ago I had the opportunity and privilege to speak with the Physiotherapy Association here in Adelaide, and one of the participants, Chris Kratiris. I hope I pronounced that correctly, Chris. Parakalo, Evaristo, Musa ka. Chris has sent me an email with a couple of really great questions. The first one is, when you treat your patients to try and correct any shift in the medial column, do you prescribe an orthotic or certain footwear or taping to maintain the changes you have made with manual therapy? My thought was that by correcting this shift, if it's present, it will help to move their foot into a more optimal position. The thing about FMT is its primary purpose is to release connective tissue restrictions that cause joint hypomobility. So when you get a joint shifting in its position or way of working and the connective tissues adapt and compensate around that, it limits the joint's ability to move and work as nature intended. So FMT works well to free up those connective tissue restrictions. Now, Chris also goes on to say that if they have a congenitally hypermobile or valgus foot, the first thing is FMT creates more mobility in the joints. A hypermobile foot, FMT is not indicated. In fact, that's a contraindication because their joints are already mobile enough. When we create extra mobility and creating that change, there's a couple of scenarios. One is a short-term correction or improvement of a joint that becomes fixated or restricted. Might be because of an acute accident, injury, or a force that happens on the sporting field or work. FMT can work to release those very effectively, very quickly. The more common scenario is when we're dealing with a chronic, longer-term situation, where chronic meaning something that's been around for 3 months or more. Typical scenario would be your plantar fasciitis that's been building up over time and has been exacerbated and leading to the symptomatic case that your clients walk in or limp into your clinics with. Now, when we start creating the changes, we're looking at creating the changes over time, really to get the old damaged cells to be replaced with new healthy cells. Now, we know in the joint structures this is a process that takes time, and I'll actually put the link to the latest research that shows the time frame that's required for those old cells to be replaced with new cells. Typically, we're looking at a 6-week period of time with those joint connective tissues. And while you're creating the changes over that time, supporting the foot mechanics, like with a safety net mechanism, is a good idea. Whether that safety net happens through strapping, whether it happens through appropriate footwear, maybe you're going to use some type of orthotic therapy, whether it be a pre-form or a custom-made, is up to the individual practitioner and up to the individual case. But I would recommend the use of that type of implementation to support the clinical outcome that you're after. Now, Chris also writes that another question he was wondering about were those individuals who are overweight or have extra impact because of either their body weight or their physical activities. Would you consider this a potential indication for the prescription of orthotic therapy? Absolutely. Whenever the joints are being subjected to excessive force, whether it be body weight, physical sport, works, employment, or footwear that people choose to wear, it's really worthwhile to support the manual therapy and the FMT release of connective tissues by implementing an external type of support. Our view at the Foot and Leg Centre is that orthotic therapy, shoe therapy, or taping is a bit like the icing on the cake. Our focus is on getting the cake right, getting the foot as strong and as stable as it can be, and then the icing, which would be the use of external supports or external footwear therapy, then that's an added bonus. But you've got to get the cake right first, and FMT is probably the most effective way to do that, certainly based on my experience over the course of the last 30 plus years. So Chris, thank you very much for your questions. Some great food for thought there, and hopefully that's provided you with some answers that helps you in your clinical goals. Cheers.